of dragonflies and damselflies can be found flitting around the calmer waterways. And below them, one of the most evolved creatures in the world. The pond skater. This tiny insect, around the size of a fingernail, literally walks on water. The entire body is covered with thousands of that trap air to repel water. It can cover almost 2 meters in a second and is always on the lookout for a meal. Anything that falls into their realm is hunted down. A dragonfly. Excellent eating. These insects are just one of many small creatures that make a home in Singapore's freshwater habitats. Tiny, but no less important for this ecosystem. A few months have passed, and in the Botanic Gardens, the otter pups are now 6 months old. But only the strongest two made it. Survival rates are low for this species, and with only around 90 of them in Singapore, smooth-coated otters are still critically endangered here. The two pups are now the teenagers of the family. Finally big enough to fend for themselves. In the city pond, the ducklings are also almost fully grown. And like the otter pups, only 2 managed to survive the first few vulnerable months of life. But now, they have waterproof feathers and wings that are nearly ready to take flight and explore their unique city home. In the next 4 decades, 90% of Singapore's land will be part of an interconnected water catchment system, channeling fresh water into rivers, lakes, and reservoirs. A life-giving resource for us and the wild. Freshwater ecosystems will constantly evolve, and many of our wild river locals will continue to adapt and thrive here in the wild city. Singapore's waterways, the newest arrivals struggle to survive against predators and Mother Nature. Will they be able to make it to adulthood? Watch Wild City Riverworld on demand at cna.asia.
Join the Wild City contest and you could win fabulous prizes. For more details, go to cna.asia/Wild City Contest.
The mysterious illness continues to spread across China, was changed from yellow to orange.
他们想毁坏中国最好的东西。 Discover the forces behind U.S.-China tensions. In Titans Clash premieres January 2021.
Some 100 million Indonesian voters will be heading to the polls to pick their governors, mayors, and regents. Now, the biggest thing on their minds, the pandemic and its impact on their livelihoods. Who will they pick to help steer them out of the crisis that's crushing businesses and households? The full story on your next Asia First.
This December, behold life-changing events with tales of adventure, inner strength and discovery. A deadly ascent. The untold story of overcrowding, environmental damage and tragedy on the world's highest summit. Strangers in My Head. Follow the stories of individuals searching for their place in society amidst their struggle with mental health issues. Into the Vault. Discover little secrets about Singapore and find the answers to your burning questions about the past. This December on CNA. This is World Tonight.
Good evening, I'm Paul Singh. Tonight's top stories. A 90-year-old grandmother becomes the first in the world to receive coronavirus vaccine as Britain launches the world's first mass vaccination campaign against COVID-19. Pfizer clears the next hurdle in the race to get its COVID-19 vaccine approved for emergency use in the US. South Korea has secured enough coronavirus jabs for 44 million of its citizens. It has deals with 4 major drug companies to provide the vaccines. Hong Kong tightens its COVID-19 restrictions as it battles a 4th wave of infections. Dining in at restaurants is said to be banned after 6 p.m. China lashes out at the US for sanctions leveled against committee members that helped pass Hong Kong's national security law.
I'm Elizabeth Neo. Also tonight, a legislation in Australia that could see Facebook and Google pay for news content in the country. And how technology helps Singapore track down COVID-19 infections.
A milestone in the global fight against COVID-19 as the world's first inoculation are being rolled out in Britain. A 90-year-old woman in England has become the first person to receive the public vaccine jab, and she's the first of many to come. Around 800,000 doses of Pfizer-BioNTech are expected to be available within this first week. Frontline staff and elderly are the first in line. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson cheered the start of the vaccination program, but says there's still a long way to go before things go back to normal.
In Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales, in England, people are having the vaccine for the first time, and it will gradually make a huge, huge difference. But I stress gradually because, we're not there yet. We haven't defeated this virus yet, and we can't afford to relax now. And so my message would be, it's amazing to see the vaccine coming out. It's amazing to see this tremendous shot in the arm for the entire nation, but we can't afford to relax now.
Ollie Berry joins us live now in London. Ollie, tell us more about the first recipient of the vaccine. We know she's a grandmother in her 90s, encouraging others not to be afraid and saying she took the jab for Britain.
That's right. Margaret Keenan will go down in history as the very first person in the UK to take the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, the first person in the world to be part of the mass rollout in terms of Pfizer-BioNTech's jab, rather than being someone who's been involved in the testing process that's got us to this point. She certainly seemed to take it in her stride. She wore a Christmas jumper that helped to fundraise for the National Health Service as she took the jab, and she's 91 next week, and she says that this is for her an early birthday present. As I say, the images of Margaret Keenan beamed around the world. Certainly here in the UK, she's become something of a rather rapid national hero.
Now, the Prime Minister also warned that though there may be light at the end of the tunnel, there's still a long way to go. What has been the response so far to this rollout?
I think think there's a great deal of excitement here in the UK that this vaccine offers the first real prospect of an exit from the pandemic, along with other vaccines that we expect to come along behind it as well. In some quarters, there is some nervousness, some anxiety.